There are people who walk through life untouched by love, not because they never found it, but because somewhere along the way, they saw through it. They move differently. They watch others fall, promise, ache, heal, and fall again. And they remain still. To the world, they look cold. But if you listen closely, you'll hear the quiet hum of someone who has outgrown the illusion. They are not heartless, they are awake. They've traded butterflies for balance, infatuation for insight, and the need to be loved for the peace of not needing at all. In this video, we step into the minds of those who never cared about love, not to judge them, but to understand the strange, beautiful freedom that lives on the other side of desire. To those who never cared about love, the word love itself feels like a mirage, beautiful from afar, deceptive up close. They've watched too many hearts promise forever, only to vanish when the feeling faded. They've studied human nature too deeply to romanticize it anymore. They see love as a performance, a play where everyone knows their lines. I miss you. I need you. You're my everything. But behind the curtain, it's often fear, loneliness, or habit, wearing the costume of affection. To them, love isn't divine, it's chemical, a biological trick meant to keep humanity multiplying, a temporary madness dressed as destiny. They've read the poetry, they've heard the songs, and they know how much of it was written in heartbreak, not harmony. So they ask quietly, if love was real, why does it end when emotion does? They're not cynics, they're observers. They've seen how quickly passion turns into possession, how easily desire is mistaken for devotion. They know that for many, love is just the art of needing someone, to make the silence feel less loud. But they don't need that noise. They find peace in solitude, truth in detachment. They've learned to hold reality without the filters of fantasy. Because once you strip away the illusions, you see that most people don't love, they cling. They don't connect, they escape. And so, they step back. They let others chase the dream while they study the pattern. They know that when you depend on someone else to define your happiness, you hand over your freedom. And to them, freedom is the highest form of love. Love for one's own mind, one's own path, one's own stillness. Still, sometimes even they pause. They'll hear a song, catch a glance, feel the faint echo of what used to move them. And for a second they wonder, maybe illusion isn't such a terrible thing. Maybe even the wisest hearts crave the comfort of being fooled, just for a moment. But then they smile, not bitterly but knowingly, and return to their truth. Because for them, love isn't something to find. It's something they've already transcended. For those who never cared about love, passion didn't die. It simply changed direction. What others give to a person, they give to a mission. What others build in relationships, they build in silence. Their hearts still burn, just not for another human being. They've found something larger than affection to dedicate themselves to. A dream, an idea, a calling. Something that doesn't ghost them, doesn't betray them, doesn't demand constant reassurance. Purpose became their partner. Ambition became their intimacy. They wake up with a sense of devotion that lovers might envy. Because while love asks for another heartbeat to synchronize with, purpose asks for your own. It doesn't abandon you when the season changes. It doesn't fall out of love because you've evolved. It grows with you relentlessly. They've learned that meaning outlasts emotion. And so, while others chase butterflies, they chase legacy. While others lose sleep over texts left unread, they lose sleep over visions yet to be realized. And maybe that looks lonely to the world, but to them, it's liberation. They're not cold, they're focused. They've turned the energy of heartbreak into craftsmanship. They've converted the ache of rejection into resilience. They've built empires where love once built illusions. And yet, there's still poetry in their solitude. When they create, you can feel the emotion they refuse to speak. When they achieve, you can sense the longing that once sought a human face. now seeking something eternal. They've fallen in love, not with someone's eyes, but with destiny itself. They understand something the world often forgets. Romance fades, but purpose remains. Love demands validation. Purpose rewards consistency. And in a sense, they found a higher kind of love. A love that doesn't crumble under doubt, doesn't depend on being chosen. A love that builds rather than consumes. So when you see them alone, don't mistake it for emptiness. They're not lonely, they're loyal. Loyal to their vision. Faithful to their craft. Because they know that while lovers may come and go, calling stays. And purpose, when pursued deeply enough, is its own kind of eternal love. For some, love isn't a dream, it's a derailment. They see how easily emotions cloud judgment. How lovers lose their purpose chasing fleeting validation. They've watched empires crumble because someone fell for the wrong person. They've seen how passion burns bright, then burns everything. To them, love is noise. And silence. Silence is clarity. They believe purpose comes before passion. They choose mastery over mystery, logic over longing, discipline over desire. Their hearts have learned that not every connection deserves cultivation. So while the world is busy writing love songs, they're composing symphonies of self-control. They're not anti-love, they're anti-distraction. Because when you've seen how emotion manipulates the mind, you learn to guard your focus like a sacred temple. They'd rather build than bond. They'd rather rise alone than fall together. But here's the paradox. Even in their resistance, love still visits them. In the beauty of creation, in the calm of solitude, in the quiet respect for their own company. They love differently, without possession, without dependence. It's love stripped of drama, purified by logic. A colder love, yes, but a freer one. To the ones who never cared about love. Loneliness is not their enemy, it's their ally. They've made peace with silence, with empty rooms, with the echo of their own thoughts bouncing off unshared walls. Because what they truly fear isn't being alone, it's being known. To open the heart is to hand someone the map to your insecurities, to give them the weapon that could break you and pray they never learn how to use it. They've watched people undress their souls in the name of love, only to be abandoned when the magic faded. So they decided, better to be whole in solitude than broken in someone else's carelessness. They've built fortresses made of logic, guarded by wit and silence. Every brick was molded by betrayal, every wall a response to vulnerability gone wrong. They mastered the art of emotional invisibility, present, but untouchable, warm, but unreachable, because vulnerability demands trust. And trust is a currency they no longer trade. They've seen how easily words can deceive, how quickly love can turn into leverage. And so, they hide their tenderness behind humor, ambition, or apathy. They laugh at love not because they don't understand it, but because they've studied it too deeply to worship it blindly. Yet, beneath that armor, there's still a softness, faint, but alive. A quiet wish that someone might one day see past the calm exterior and whisper, "You're safe here." But they'll never admit it, because the moment they confess that longing, they become vulnerable again. And vulnerability feels like standing naked in a storm. So they choose solitude, not out of hatred, but as a form of self-respect. They'd rather be alone and authentic than loved under conditions. They'd rather sit with silence than share their soul with someone who won't understand its language. People call them cold, but that's not coldness, that's control. Control over their emotions, their peace, their power. Because once you've seen how fragile the heart can be, you learn to protect it like an ancient relic, beautiful, sacred, but untouchable. They are not afraid of love. They're afraid of losing themselves in the process of seeking it. And to them, that fear feels wiser than romance. There is a strange peace that lives in those who no longer need love. It's not the cold peace of emptiness. but the warm, quiet peace of enoughness. They've stopped chasing validation, stopped begging to be understood, stopped searching for pieces of themselves in other people. For them, solitude is not punishment, it's clarity. When the noise of desire fades, they finally hear the rhythm of their own soul. They wake without expectation, sleep without disappointment, and live without the constant ache of needing to be wanted. They've realized something the world often forgets. You cannot be free and dependent at the same time. The more you crave love, the easier you are to control. The more you need to be chosen, the more you forget your own worth. And so, they chose a quieter revolution, to walk alone, but not lonely, to exist, whole and unowned. They've redefined love, not as something to get, but something to be. Their kindness is love. Their discipline is love. Their devotion to truth, to peace, to self-mastery. That is love in its purest, unspoken form. And yet, they're not heartless. They feel, perhaps more deeply than anyone. But their love is no longer a transaction. It doesn't need to be returned to be real. It flows quietly through how they live, how they create, how they let go. In a world addicted to attachment, they've become something rare, untamed spirits who don't need to be completed, because they were never broken. So when you see them walking alone, don't mistake it for isolation. They're not running from love. They've simply outgrown the version of it that depends on another heartbeat. They have discovered a greater intimacy, the one between a human and their peace. And in that stillness, they've found the kind of love that doesn't end, the kind that isn't spoken, isn't promised, isn't lost, because it lives entirely within. So maybe those who never cared about love aren't loveless at all. Maybe they've just found the rarest kind, the kind that needs no witness,